Floyd Mayweather has come up with the most unexpected decision. He's now confirmed he's training Frank Martin to get Tank Davis to lose by all means.
I told him from the beginning. You know, I was one of the first guys to come on record from the beginning. I told him he can come and I can teach him some pointers. Because a lot of times, this is just my take. The same coach you had as an amateur doesn't always make him a great professional coach.
It's really getting more disastrous every day, as a beef with the gentle Derrick James could be underway. Floyd Mayweather has taken his feud with Gervonta Davis to another height, and this time there's no falling off. Gervonta Davis returns to the ring on June 15th after 14 months out of the ring. But many boxing fans don't perceive that as a threat to Baltimore's Tank Davis, who's undefeated in all of his 29 professional fights, draping his undefeated record with 27 knockout victories. Gervonta Davis isn't one to run away from challenges, but one to intimidate his opponents both in and out of the ring, as we saw in his most recent press conference against Frank Martin. And while many of his fans have stuck with him going into this fight, his former mentor isn't seeing any light at the end of the tunnel for him.
He was a young kid, came up to me when he was a kid, wanted an autograph. I signed his phone for him and told him, "You'll be world champion someday, and I'll be your promoter." Years later, he was working with some people from our team because our team is huge.
And guess what? Floyd Mayweather is willing to take off the light himself. It's quite troubling that a man who's been at Tank Davis's corner for most of his past 29 fights will be at his opponent's corner this time. From his first match as a professional fighter, Tank Davis has fought under the guidance and tutelage of Floyd Mayweather, and that accounts largely for why he's had a successful career so far.
We got guys in DC, Baltimore, Philly, New York, all around. He won a few fights. I think he was like 8 or 9-0. I told him, in under 24 months, you'll be world champion. Made the right moves, put him in the right position. He's a multi-millionaire.
But the same man who started it all is set to end it by handing Gervonta Davis his very first loss by training his opponent ahead of the fight.
Tell him again, Floyd.
Davis made his debut at the age of 18 on February 22, 2013, against Desi Williams, who had a professional record of 0 wins and 4 losses, all by stoppage. The fight took place in DC, Armory in Washington, on the undercard of the IBF junior welterweight fight between Lamont Peterson and Kendall Holt. Davis won the bout via first-round knockout. By August 2014, Davis had recorded 8 wins and no losses, with all wins coming inside the distance. Davis took the 6-round distance for the first time in October 2014 against veteran 28-year-old German Maraz. Davis knocked Maraz down in rounds 3 and 5 and went on to win a unanimous decision, with all 3 judges scoring the bout 60-52. And while Mayweather was present in all of these, but after Gervonta Davis's win over Rolly Romero, Tank decided to exit Mayweather Promotions. Regardless, Mayweather was still at his corner for his 29th fight against Ryan Garcia. But this time around, it's going to be completely different after their altercation on social media. Floyd and Davis have had an intense back and forth on social media lately, with Floyd attacking Davis indirectly and Davis firing back by revealing Floyd's recent trouble in Dubai.
Tell Floyd to get on live. Tell him show where he at. You owe them people over in Dubai that money. Tell him get on live right now. And he owe people in Saudi Arabia money too. Out here scamming. On live right now.
Floyd fired back with a funny dance video of Tank Davis, and Davis has been the most outspoken ever since. As a result, Floyd Mayweather is set to shut him up completely, as he recently reached Frank Martin to notify him of his decision, and once Martin agreed, Floyd has become a part of his training team. Floyd Mayweather is so consumed with hatred for Gervonta Davis that he isn't mindful of the desperation his actions reveal. Expectedly, fans have trolled Floyd Mayweather for this, with a fan writing on social media, "Floyd doesn't want anyone to take his glory, so if you're not glorifying him, he's ready to leave. Such childish behavior."
But we can make his skills a lot better.
Well, have you reached out about training him? Do you?
Another rubbished Floyd's 50-0 record, claiming he was used to fighting fighters out of their prime. Floyd is not 50-0 when he fights most fighters out of their prime. He's just a glorified Jake Paul. I detest guys like that. The third fan commented without any consideration, claiming Floyd was hating and concerned with a business that wasn't his. Floyd's just a hater, and he isn't concerned with his business in Dubai. He's focused on Derek James's issues when he has problems too. Well, talking about Derek James, it appears Floyd Mayweather isn't just making this weird move out of his hatred, but out of his concern for Derek James's methods. While Derek James has enjoyed recent wins in Frank Martin's last fight and Ryan Garcia's win over Devin Haney, he had some very difficult pills to swallow shortly before that. From the peaks of standing as the Boxing Writers Association of America Trainer of the Year in 2022, Derek James has traveled a turbulent path since. Following the losses of his top fighters, Errol Spence Jr. and Jermell Charlo, within a 3-month period last year, Derek James's came under fire for his training methods and techniques. And this is part of the reason why Floyd is considering assisting or taking Derek James's place. In fact, a controversy was sparked after the fight between Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., but it started shortly before then, when Anthony Joshua decided to part ways with him, opting for Ben Davison as his trainer. Joshua teamed with Davison, a former coach of Tyson Fury, ahead of his bout with Otto Wallin in December, a fight that AJ won after 5 rounds. For his 2 previous fights in 2023, wins against Jermaine Franklin and Robert Helenius Joshua trained under American Derek James in Texas. The move to train with Davison was a surprising one from the former 2-time heavyweight champion, who was reluctant to explain his decision ahead of the bout with Wallin. However, Joshua soon opened up on his partnership with fellow Briton Davison, who was in the 34-year-old's corner against Ngannou on the 8th of March. Backstage at the press conference for the fight, which took place in Saudi Arabia, Joshua told reporters on Monday, "I believe that training with Derek was like a process. He's got an actual style of training, and I had to adapt to his style. It was a process. And I just changed trainers. I'd been to Rob McCracken. I've been with Angel Fernandez, Robert Garcia, now Derek. I said to the boys, I don't want to move again. I want to make my bed and lie in it." But the thing is, when I was back in the UK, I was in Finchley hitting the heavy bag on my own. They were like, "Why don't you go and speak to Ben? He's good. He's given us some tips and me some tips leading up to the fight that was supposed to be with Dillian White."
People made up the Frank Martin. First they made up Errol, then they made up Frank, now it's AJ. Right. So tomorrow's gonna be Ryan. Obviously, whatever. So leave me out in the cold, man. I mean, you know what? I don't know what to say.
"Why don't you just go and see him?" I was like, "Nah, I don't want to change. I'm pretty set on going to America." But I went and saw Ben and had a really good session. Joshua was referring to his canceled rematch with White in August, when Helenius stepped in after White failed a drug test. Joshua lost to White in the amateurs, but knocked out his compatriot in a professional bout in 2015. "The reason I was able to gel with Ben is because he doesn't try to change your style," Joshua continued. "He kind of looks at your attributes and adds to what you're good at. I went to a stage where I was trying to change my style. A bit of back foot boxing, boxing behind the jab, stick and move, not being explosive, controlling the pace and stuff like that. But Ben was like, that's not your body type. You're a freaking big unit. You're explosive. Go and knock freaking people out. Basically, work on your body type." So, we got along in that sense. He gets it.
And what is it that you think about that matchup of
well, you know
AJ
what? You know what? I talked to AJ yesterday. I really did, to be honest. And the day before that. He was in Texas for the, he was at the...
Joshua trained under McCracken as an amateur, including at the 2012 Olympics where AJ won gold, and long into the heavyweight's pro career. After losing to Alexander Usyk in 2021, Joshua left McCracken to team with Garcia in 2022, only to lose to Usyk on points again. He then teamed with James for a decision win over Franklin and knockout of Hellenius. Joshua added that he spoke to James about the decision to train under Davison, saying, "I spoke to Derek, he was cool. Obviously, I'm not from America, so it's hard. And the fight with Wallen came about with 6 or 7 weeks of training. It just didn't make sense, packing up again, finding the Airbnb, getting all my stuff in a freaking container out there. It didn't leave enough time. So now I found a new bed with Ben. I spoke to Derek and said I'm going to stay with Ben for this fight here because we've got another 6 or 7 weeks to go. We'll work well." That's kind of how it's managed to become what it is now. While distance seems like a good reason for Joshua's departure from James, he also complained about Davison's style being more adaptable than James. Perhaps this is one of the things Floyd Mayweather saw that has lured him into his decision to train Frank Martin. But aside from Anthony Joshua's complaint, Derek James also trained 2 fighters into losses last year, with the most prominent being Errol Spence's first career loss against Terrence Crawford. Derek James came under fire for several reasons, and things got really bad after Errol Spence Jr. relieved Derek James off his duties as his trainer, following his embarrassing loss to Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford made history, becoming the first unified welterweight champion in the history of the 4 major belt era with a 9th-round TKO win over Errol Spence Jr. last year. Crawford added Spence's World Boxing Association, World Boxing Council, and International Boxing Federation titles to his own World Boxing Organization crown. The knockout victory marked Crawford's 11th consecutive finish, with 9 of them now coming in the 6th round or later. This, however, was the most impressive of them all, as Crawford put on a boxing masterclass to practically dominate the fight from the moment he dropped Spence in the 2nd round. That was an unfamiliar position for Spence, who had not previously been dropped once in his accomplished career. By the end of the fight, he had gone down 3 separate times, a similar story as Devin the Dream Haney, who was dropped thrice en route to the very first loss of his career. Crawford finished the fight landing a stunning 60% of his power shots and 42% of his jabs. His 87 landed jabs were the most by a Spence opponent. Crawford certainly showed how great his jab is, with Mike Tyson describing it as a battering ram that continued to connect and pressure Spence back throughout the fight. In Spence's speech after the match, he said, "Hell yeah, we've got to do it again. I'll be a lot better," Spence said, adding he still plans to move up to the light middleweight division and compete at 154 pounds. Crawford was on board with that idea too, telling reporters fighting at 147 pounds was kind of hard for him too, and that moving up wouldn't be out of reach. "He was the better man tonight," Spence added of Crawford. "He was using his jab, dictating his jab. My timing was a little bit off, and he was catching me in between shots. I wasn't surprised by his speed or his accuracy. It was everything I thought. My timing wasn't on point." Following Errol Spence's loss to Crawford, the boxer parted ways with his trainer Derek James, and the two no longer worked together. Following the match where Spence was dropped 3 times before getting stopped in round 9, James was criticized for not doing enough in the corner, as Crawford became the first undisputed welterweight champion of the 4-belt era. James claimed he was working with Anthony Joshua and Ryan Garcia, indicating he could not give Spence his full attention. And the rematch with Crawford never happened, as James and Spence went their way. Again, the disharmony continued as the trainer filed a lawsuit on April 17th in Dallas County, Texas, demanding damages of at least $5 million. The lawsuit alleged James found Spence's breach of contract, fraudulent business practices, and misrepresentations after Spence received the $25 million guaranteed fight purse for the Crawford fight. It is alleged James was only paid $350,000. However, James's camp stated he was entitled to 10% of the total revenue from the fight purse and PPV money. Spence stated there was a conversation between him and James. It happened on February 13th, claiming he told James he was not entitled to receive 10% of his guaranteed purse. Spence asserted someone named Al told him that paying James $350,000 for the Crawford fight in exchange for his training services was generous. James's attorney stated, "No one named Al was present when James and Spence originally entered into their agreement. Any alleged reliance by Spence on advice from someone named Al regarding James's compensation is misplaced." The lawsuit stated Spence told James in a February 15th phone call that he did rob James. He also allegedly said in a text message that he wanted to own up to his own up and pay James the remaining $2.15 million that they kept with their verbal agreement. Well, the money never came, as both sides are now in court. Spence has yet to comment on this publicly.
Are you willing to do this rematch back at welterweight?
It's something I got to talk to my management about, but hopefully it's at 154.
And this exactly was what didn't go down well with Spence's former stablemate, Ryan Garcia.
It's crazy. Yeah, Spence got beef with my coach. What's good? Come see me. You want to sue him? I want to beat you up.
Yo, facts.
Facts, bro.
Spence has moved on to a new coach, though it's yet to be formally announced, leaving James to focus on Garcia's battle with Haney before Garcia's win. And Spence even came under fire after Ryan Garcia trolled him. "You folded. You didn't want to pay him some money," he told Spence on a social media space. "It's all business, but still, I paid him more for a fight I made less than Errol against Crawford, and he's been with you his whole career. How did I pay Derek more than you in a fight I made less? Errol was high as hell. The guy couldn't even form a sentence."
Changes Spence's career. He made Ryan 10 times worse. It felt like he was trying to be something he wasn't. I hope he don't try to do that shoulder roll again. Now he's over here thinking he's like Floyd Mayweather or something. I don't know. Like Derek James.
Sadly, this is what Floyd Mayweather has firmly held on to against Derek James, believing James has been caught up in too much controversies lately to help Frank Martin to a very strange win over Tank Davis. And while James has quickly redeemed himself from the sad events of the previous year, many are yet to forgive him, and he understood this perfectly. Before Ryan Garcia's latest fight, James was asked for the career-boosting possibilities of leading Garcia and Martin into these underdog role bouts. Responding, James said he is eager to restore the way many in the sport viewed him after the years it took to direct former three-belt welterweight champion Spence and formerly undisputed 154 champion Charlo to their heights. "I like me in this fight," James told Boxing Scene. "I believe in Ryan, I believe in myself, and I believe in his abilities. That's what it's all about. It's about being diligent about who you are and focusing on what your abilities are, and that's what gets you what you want." Following those unfortunate losses, however, James proved his words and returned to elite wins with his fighters, Ryan Garcia and Frank Martin, bagging wins in their most recent fights.
Derek, were you surprised at all when Ryan said he already looked at you as like another father figure?
And while there are controversies around Ryan Garcia's win over Devin Haney, Derek James surely did his part as a trainer. Notably, it was at Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney's Need Conference that James first announced that he also has Martin in his Dallas area gym, beginning preparations for his showdown against unbeaten WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Tank Davis. "We have Frank Martin working out," James told a news source. "Things have been said about that. It's a big deal, yeah." Martin caused an uproar by withdrawing from negotiations to fight unbeaten Shakur Stevenson of rival promoter Top Rank in November. He's now landed a more high-profile date against the Baltimore Slugger, who last year generated 1.2 million pay-per-view buys in his stoppage victory over Garcia. Having given Ryan Garcia his biggest win, Derek James is prepared to do the same for Frank Martin, as he's been seen in their heated press conference, maintaining a very passive countenance as expected, with Davis firing some shots at him. "I'm definitely looking forward to, all around the board, just being back in the ring," Davis said. "I've been off for a long time. I've been in jail. I've been under house arrest and things like that. I'm just happy to be back here where I'm comfortable. I could be flawless and do what I do best, and that's give you fans the best boxing you've seen to date. Come June 15th, I ain't ready with a load of talk. Martin's a front runner. They think they are thugs and stuff like that, but I'm telling you, it's a different beast in front of him. It's a different beast. Nobody's going to be able to save him on June 15th, and it's a lot of stuff built up. It's a lot built up, and I'm going to take it out on him. I'll see y'all June 15th.
Once again, things heating up already for this main event, the WBA lightweight champions.
Davis's profile as one of the world's highest profile fighters owes much to his former association with Floyd Mayweather Jr. He was present at the MGM the night in 2012 when Mayweather outpointed Miguel Cotto, and is relishing the prospect of being the lead attraction at one of the most celebrated fight venues in the world. "I'm just happy to be back in the mix and happy to fight at the MGM," he said. "This will probably be my second time fighting here, but I remember coming to watch Floyd versus Cotto, and I walked through the front door and I saw all the celebrities and things like that, mink coats on and things like that. I always wanted to be a part of something like this, so I'm just grateful to be in this position, and also to be on this card with another young lion like myself, and to give the fans what they want to see." Since Davis Garcia, which proved the biggest fight of 2023, Martin, who trains alongside Garcia at Derek James's Texas-based gym, has recorded a decision victory over Artem Harutyunyan. "It's a blessing just to be here," said the challenger Martin, also 29. "It's a blessing just to get this type of opportunity to come here and show the world what I'm about. I've got to say hats off. I appreciate Gervonta Davis for even taking the fight. I believe they messed up by taking the fight, but I do appreciate them giving me this opportunity to show the world what I'm about. I'm ready to go out and shock the world and do what I do what people think I can't do. It means everything to fight for a world title. I've been working for it. I've been the underdog in this since I started, from the beginning. I've been watching everything. I know how his nonsense walks. I'm gonna touch his butt up. I know how he and his whole team walk. And that's all for now. What do you think about Floyd's decision to train Martin? Let's know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Until next time, peace out.